Oh, thank you. We gotta do a video. We gotta do a video. Look at the camera. Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of Mental Health Mondays. I'm MK, your friendly neighborhood therapist. If I'm being honest, it's actually more like Mental Health Wednesday this week. My time management skills have not been great as of late, but I didn't want to skip the week, so the video's coming out a little bit late, but going forward I'm going to try to have it on every Monday. So today we're going to be going over a DBT skill called opposite action. Opposite action in its most simplistic form is just doing the opposite of what your emotions are telling you to do in order to lessen the intensity of the emotional response you're experiencing. However, there is a little bit more to it than that, so I'm going to break it down for you. So the first step of using opposite action is determining whether or not opposite action is even warranted for the situation you're in. And to do that, we need to make sure that our emotions fit the facts of a situation. So an emotional response can be broken down into 3 steps. An event happens, then you have an interpretation of that event, and then you experience the emotional response. So for example, the event might be that I'm driving my car and someone very rudely cuts me off while I'm driving. My interpretation of that event can really go a couple of different ways. I can think like, okay, that person's in a hurry, that was rude, but radical acceptance, I need to move on. Or I might really go to the extreme of they did that on purpose, how dare they, I'm not gonna stand for this, things like that. So you have your interpretation of the event, and then you have the feelings associated with it. So the feelings associated with the example I'm giving of being cut off while you're driving, the proper emotion would probably be agitation, annoyance. If you're experiencing rage, like extreme road rage, that is not the proper emotion for the situation. So that emotion does not fit the facts, and that would be a case in which we would use opposite action. Another case would be if you're experiencing depression. That level of sadness usually does not fit the facts of what's going on in your life. So first we check the facts. What is the event that happened and how am I interpreting it? Am I catastrophizing? Am I assuming the worst is going to happen? Am I assuming that there's some kind of threat to me or to someone I love? And then what is the emotional response I'm feeling to that? Am I feeling anxiety? Am I feeling rage? Am I feeling intense sadness? If the emotion does not fit the event, then we use opposite action. So once we check the facts and determine that the emotional response we're experiencing does not fit the situation, then we utilize opposite action in order to lessen the intensity of the emotional response we're experiencing. So every emotion you experience has an action urge associated with it. So for example, if you're experiencing fear, the action urge might be to avoid it or to run away from the thing that you're afraid of. If you're experiencing anger, the action response might be to attack or get aggressive, which is why some people punch walls or attack other people when they're feeling angry. If you're feeling sadness, the action response might be to withdraw and to isolate and to kind of spend a lot of time by yourself. And if you're feeling something like shame or guilt, the action response associated with that is to avoid people or to avoid showing people your emotions because you're feeling ashamed or guilty. So once you've identified the action urge associated with your emotion, it's time to implement opposite action, which is literally just doing the opposite of the action urge you're feeling. So I already said if you're feeling fear, the action urge associated with fear is typically to hide or run away. The opposite action would be to engage with it or gently, interact with the thing that you're afraid of. I do want to point out that, as we already established, if you are practicing opposite action, you've already determined that this fear you're experiencing is unrealistic. So I don't want you to gently interact with something that's genuinely dangerous or life-threatening to you, because then you do have cause to be afraid of it. But if it's something like social interaction or driving, something like that, opposite action would be beneficial. So the other emotions I listed before were anger, and the action urge associated with it is to get aggressive or attack someone or something. So the opposite action for anger would be to either avoid the thing that's making you angry, or to, even if you can muster it, be nice to the person or thing that is making you angry. We also went over sadness, which the action urge is to isolate. So the opposite action urge would to force yourself to come out of your room or interact with people or just do something other than isolating. And finally, we went over shame and guilt, which the action urge is to hide away from other people, and the opposite action urge would be to socialize with people who you know won't judge you, and possibly even telling them the thing that you are ashamed of or feel guilty about. It is important to remember that for this to work, you do need to be with people that you know are going to be non-judgmental and supportive for you, so it doesn't reinforce that feeling of shame. It's also important to remember when you're practicing opposite action to do opposite action all the way. So what that means is if you're feeling sad and you want to isolate and then you kind of come out of your room for a few minutes and then go back to isolating, that's not really engaging in opposite action all the way, and so we'll have minimal results. It's important to really kind of throw yourself into doing these opposite actions. Okay, so I know a lot of what I just said kind of sounds like common sense. However, when we are experiencing these intense, unrealistic emotions, we're not really thinking sensibly. We sort of just go with our gut, which is to engage in the action urge. However, if the emotion we're experiencing is not realistic, then the action urge is also not realistic at all. So, every time you want to engage in opposite action, it doesn't have to be as technical as I just explained it, like identifying the event and the emotion and things like that. It's helpful the first couple of times you do it. However, you can just do it casually as well. So, for example, I know a lot of people, when they're feeling really sad, like to listen to really sad music, myself included, because the lyrics sometimes make you feel like someone else understands, or they can put your emotions into words when you can't. And while that is very validating, it also prolongs the feeling of sadness. Another example might be when people want to watch breakup movies after they had a breakup. So it's validating to see on the screen someone else experiencing what you're experiencing, and then hopefully them experiencing a happy ending. But it's also going to perpetuate your feelings of being brokenhearted and feeling sad. So while I understand that feeling validated by doing those things is helpful, I would definitely say to time limit it. So for example, if you're feeling very sad and you have a song that, you know, is also sad, but you feel like you really resonate with it, I would definitely limit that to 1 or 2 songs, and then put on something that invokes the opposite emotion, like loud dance music or show tunes, something that doesn't keep you in that emotion. Same thing for you know, media. If you're feeling very, very angry, maybe it would be helpful to put on a horror movie, because you might be scared then and you would be taken out of your anger. So opposite action can really be implemented in just very easy ways. If you're feeling sad and you just want to sleep all day, go out, take a walk, go to the gym. If you're feeling like you want to avoid people because you're feeling ashamed or self-conscious, go and spend time with people that are very validating to you. So once again, the purpose of opposite action is to lower the intensity of the emotion that you are feeling, and then eventually just replace that emotion altogether with something less intense. It is really helpful. In the moment, you're not going to want to do it because people tend to like to wallow. But in the moment, if you do this and you do this all the way, as I said before, it really will help. I use it myself all the time. So next time you're feeling upset, brokenhearted, shamed, things like that, put on a comedy movie, go for a walk, do something validating. Alright, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry that this video was not really released on a Monday, but I will try to get better at it. I have flaws and I am trying to accept them, and as well as improve upon them. So please like, share, subscribe. Every time I get a new subscriber, I get really excited. Like, it's the emotion does not fit the situation. But I'm really hoping that these videos are helping people or teaching people things they might not know because they can't necessarily afford to get to treatment at this point. So thank you so much, and I will see you next Monday for another Mental Health Monday video.